Stories Philippines Podcast.
The old buildings stand, quiet and massive, their concrete skin baked by the tropical sun, their halls echoing with the frantic rustle of 1,000 ambitious students. But when the light fades and the last jeepney rattles past the iron gates, a different kind of life begins here. It is a life woven from shadow and whisper, a tapestry of history, trauma, and the relentless pressure of a nation's intellectual heart. You might call it a university campus, but beneath the veneer of academia, it is a vast open-air monument to the secrets we keep and the ghosts we inevitably create. A young man, let's call him Jobert, was caught in a nightmare that was not his own. It began simply enough, a moment of drowsiness on a Thursday afternoon, a quick nap on his bed, the muffled sound of music in his headphones. But in the dream, his phone was stolen by a tall, retreating shadow. Chasing the thief out the door, the world warped. The familiar walls of his house vanished, replaced by the red-orange brick pathways of the sunken garden, the vast lawn of the campus he knew well, yet subtly wrong. He was no longer dressed for sleep, but for a jog, running a desperate, endless loop. Soon he had company, a baby, perhaps a year old, walking with a strange, almost broken gait, swaddled only in a diaper, smiling up at him as they ran side by side. No words passed between them, only the rhythm of their shared, silent race toward a blinding white light that began to consume the horizon. He woke with a jolt, the music silenced, the room dark, 5 hours lost, and that is when the dream's haunting fingers reached out into the waking world. His aunt, startled, recounted seeing a small child climbed the stairs toward his room exactly around 3 in the afternoon, only to find no one there but Jobert. The details, the size, the white diaper, the lack of a shirt, matched the child in his dream perfectly. In a sudden, terrible rush, the truth spilled out. His mother had undergone 2 abortions years ago, and the remains of his 2 unborn siblings were buried in the backyard of the old family home. The campus, the paths, the arches in his dream were merely a conduit. The spirit of his lost brothers and sisters had sought him out, not in their cramped resting place, but in the boundless space of his sleeping mind, in the guise of a silent, running companion. This is the nature of a place saturated with the past. It finds a way to speak, often through the most unexpected and sorrowful voices. A darkness permeates this episode, touching on stories and themes of loss, violence, and tragedy some may find deeply unsettling. Listener carefulness is essential. I am Paul, and you are listening to Stories Philippines Podcast. In the University of the Philippines, Diliman is more than just an educational institution. It is a repository of national memory, a crucible for revolution, and a sprawling, isolated city unto itself. Its architecture, a mix of grand colonial-era concrete structures and mid-century functionalism, stretches across hundreds of acres, and expanse punctuated by ancient acacia trees whose branches twist like arthritic hands. The sheer scale of its land and its history, a history that includes the intellectual ferment that challenged dictatorships and the countless personal traumas of students navigating the pressures of being the nation's best, makes it a natural magnet for residual spiritual energy. It is a place where every corner has witnessed a furious debate, a broken heart, a failed protest, or a triumph of the mind. This intensity, this constant surge of high-stakes human emotion never truly dissipates. It clings to the buildings, sinks into the soil, and waits for the quiet hours to surface. The campus, established in this location in the 1940s, was built on land that had seen the brutal shifts of history. While not as directly tied to the Second World War's bloodiest skirmishes as some other parts of the capital region, it sits in a part of Quezon City where the land itself is old, predating the university by centuries. The idea of places holding the echoes of the past is not unique to the Philippines. Across the globe, from the ancient stone circles of the British Isles to the former battlefields of Gettysburg in the United States, places where significant emotional or physical trauma occurred are reported to have lingering presences. This is the global parallel to what happens in Diliman, a collective emotional fingerprint left by decades of intense national drama. The campus is the ultimate symbol of the nation's aspirations, and as such, it absorbs the weight of every failure and the cost of every victory. One of the most persistent and unnerving rumors revolves around the main library. For years, a chilling story circulated among students and staff that somewhere in the vast archives, perhaps in a disused storage area or basement, jars could be found containing preserved fetuses. The origin of this dark legend is impossible to pinpoint, but its potency lies in its unsettling connection to themes of lost potential, aborted dreams, and hidden knowledge. The library, a supposed sanctuary of intellect and light, becomes, in this narrative, a vault for silenced voices. It speaks to a deep, primal fear, the desecration of innocence, and the dark underbelly of progress. Where did this morbid tale come from? Perhaps it is a twisted echo of medical schools that sometimes use such specimens for teaching, or maybe it's a manifestation of the anxiety felt by students under extreme academic stress, feeling their own dreams and ambitions are being preserved and contained, unable to fully live. The story's resilience is proof that the most potent ghost stories are the ones that reflect a deeper, unresolved cultural or psychological burden. The Wilfrido Maria Guerrero Theater, nestled on the second floor of Palma Hall, a building whose brutalist-inspired architecture feels both grand and oppressive, holds a singular dramatic spirit. The ghost here is often called Marisa, though her name shifts with every retelling, suggesting the fluidity of folklore. The core story remains tragically consistent. A celebrated actress of the University Theater, once the star of every production, found herself eclipsed by a new generation of younger, brighter talent. The loss of the spotlight, the ultimate validation for an actor, was a grief she could not bear. In a final, desperate act that blurred the line between tragedy and performance, she took her own life on the stage itself, hanging herself while still dressed in her costume. Her presence is not malevolent, but mournful and performative. Theater students spending long hours in rehearsal have often reported hearing an extra voice joining the chorus or an unseen presence moving across the stage. Sometimes, if a performance is truly captivating, she is said to make a brief appearance, drawn by the energy of the live show she can no longer truly be a part of. The dressing room she once occupied is now the site of inexplicable cold spots and misplaced props. This story of the theatrical ghost has its parallels across the international stage. London's West End, New York's Broadway, and even grand European opera houses are rife with tales of resident actors who refuse to leave the scene of their greatest triumphs or deepest despair. These stories reflect a deep understanding of the artist's intense emotional investment in their craft and their stage. For Marisa, the stage was not just a workplace, it was her entire identity. To lose it was to lose herself, and so her spirit remains bound to the only place she ever truly felt alive. The theater, usually a place of communal artistry, thus becomes a shrine to a private, shattering sorrow. The Vargas Museum, a treasure trove of art and historical documents, is another locus of subtle spiritual activity. Art spaces, by their nature, are repositories of concentrated human emotion and history, where the souls of the artists and the historical context of their work seem to hover in the air. The museum is said to house its own silent watchers, spirits whose connection may be to the objects themselves or to the era they represent. The anxiety of the place is less about sudden frights and more about a pervasive sense of being observed, a common experience in locations where the historical record is meticulously preserved. It is as if the weight of the past, the long struggle for national identity, documented in its exhibits, manifests as a tangible, eerie pressure. Visitors, particularly those alone late in the day, report feeling cold air in sealed rooms, the subtle rearrangement of small objects, or the sense of a figure just outside their peripheral vision. This is a haunting of history itself. a non-linear narrative where the past is always current. And then there is the persistent tale of the AS steps, the long, formidable staircase leading up to the Arts and Sciences building. A student, Black Cat, shared a deeply personal story that blends romance, tragedy, and the terrifying persistence of a broken spirit. His college crush, a bright and happy girl, was tragically killed along with her entire family and their house helper in a devastating house fire in 2011. The fire was ruled an accident, a sudden erasure of an entire family, but for Black Cat, the girl's memory became a waking nightmare. He experienced 3 recurring dreams, each a variation on her desperate, trapped state. In the first, she walked, smiling, only to turn and reveal a face severely burned, her limbs blurred and indistinct, suggesting the destructive fire that claimed her life. In the second, she simply sat and wept, an expression of profound, endless sorrow. The third dream was the most bizarre and unnerving. She was engulfed in flames that inexplicably shifted color from green to blue to yellow, a spectral, cyclical fire that never consumed her but kept her trapped in a loop of pain. This shifting, prismatic fire, green, blue, yellow, is a terrifying image of eternal suffering and a clear sign of deep, unresolved trauma. The spiritual manifestation is not just a glimpse of a figure, but a haunting that invades the subconscious, a type of haunting that often occurs when a living person shares a powerful emotional or psychological link with the deceased. Perhaps the depth of his crush, his intense emotional investment, opened a door for her tormented spirit to reach out. In the lore of many cultures, unresolved, sudden, and violent death creates a more powerful and volatile spirit. The sheer trauma of being burned alive, coupled with the loss of her entire family, suggests a soul trapped in a loop of its last agonizing moments. The spirit is not asking for justice, as some might suggest, but is projecting its pain onto the one person who remembered her with pure, unselfish affection. The university campus is, in a sense, a crossroads of different worldviews. On one hand, you have the cold, hard logic of science and the relentless pursuit of empirical truth. On the other, you have the deep, abiding faith of the Filipino people, where the line between the physical and the spiritual is gossamer thin. This cultural belief system allows for these hauntings to be accepted not as mere fiction, but as a spiritual reality. In Catholicism, the dominant religion, sudden, violent death is often associated with the concept of a suffering soul, a spirit not necessarily condemned, but one that is unable to find rest because of an unfinished task, an unconfessed sin, or the sheer horror of its passing. These souls are believed to be stuck in a state of limbo or purgatory, actively seeking prayer or intervention from the living. The tragic actress Morisa and the burning student both fit this profile. Their ends were violent, self-inflicted, or accidental, violating the natural order and leaving them bound to the earthly realm. The student Jobert, offering candles and prayers for his aborted siblings, is performing a traditional act of spiritual intercession, an attempt to finally grant peace to the spirits that found their way to him. This is how the faith context informs the narrative. The ghosts aren't just figures in the dark. They are souls in need of spiritual release. From a scientific and psychological perspective, many of these sightings can be explained by pareidolia, the tendency for the mind to perceive patterns in random stimuli, or the effects of hypnagogic or hypnopompic hallucinations, which occur when the mind is transitioning between sleep and wakefulness, a state which Jobert's story seems to directly address. The constant stress of academic life, the pressure cooker environment of a top university also plays a crucial role. Student anxiety and exhaustion can lead to heightened suggestibility, misinterpretation of sensory input, or even mild dissociative states. The spectral figures become psychological manifestations of the student's own inner turmoil. The pressure to succeed, the fear of failure, the guilt of not living up to expectations, or the trauma of bearing witness to social injustice. The headless soldier rumored to haunt other Philippine campuses or the weeping figure in the AS building are the collective trauma of history and the personal anxiety of the student body given form. The legend of the vanishing commuters on the campus jeepneys is a prime example of this blending of fear and confusion. A student jumps onto a full jeepney, holding onto the back for lack of space. Minutes later, the driver questions him about why he is not sitting down, and the student turns to see the jeepney is now completely empty. This common motif in global urban folklore, the phantom traveler or the vanishing passengers, is a narrative vehicle for the anxieties of modern fast-paced life, the feeling of disconnect, and the constant fear of being alone in a crowd. In the specific context of the university, it could be a psychological manifestation of academic isolation, where a student feels completely surrounded yet utterly alone in their struggles. It is a frightening realization of a shared yet private emptiness. What binds these disparate stories together: the fetuses in the library, the grieving actress, the burning crush, the baby jogging partner, is a deep, unsettling theme of lost potential. The Diliman campus, with its promise of a better future for the nation, is ironically haunted by what never came to be. Consider the story of Jorit and the unborn children. This is a profound and deeply personal haunting, one that cuts to the core of familial secrets and societal shame. The image of a 1-year-old baby jogging alongside a young man in the vast, open space of the sunken garden is hauntingly beautiful and terribly sad. The baby is not a menacing figure, he is a silent companion, a brother who will never grow up, forever stuck at the age of earliest potential. The light that consumes the scene is not a moment of doom, but of transcendence and loss. The moment the children finally pass into a peace they never knew on earth. The dream serves a stark, undeniable purpose: to reveal a devastating secret and force a confrontation with a hidden, heavy grief. The way Jobert's family reacted, his aunt's immediate hero-fight confirmation of seeing the child, and his mother's eventual confession lends a powerful authenticity to the spiritual element. In the Filipino worldview, the veil is always thin, and the spirits of unbaptized or unburied children are thought to be particularly restless and prone to seeking out their living relatives. Jobert's gift as a dreamer is the vehicle through which this spiritual need is met, forcing him to acknowledge his lost siblings and perform the necessary, compassionate rites of remembrance. This campus, therefore, is a reflection of the national psyche. It is a place of grand hopes and brutal, hidden histories. The ghosts here are not merely things that go bump in the night, they are historical trauma given form, the anxieties of a generation manifested as specters, and the voices of the unborn and the unheard demanding recognition. They are the cost of progress, the price of ambition, and the weight of secrets buried beneath the hallowed ground of learning. You have a story that has left its mark on your life, a whisper of the strange or the tragic. Share it with us. Submit your stories to our email, storiesphpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find show notes and support options in the description of this episode, where you'll find ways to help us keep sharing these profound, unsettling narratives. For those who want an even deeper look into the research and behind-the-scenes content that informs our episodes, you can access exclusive content on Patreon. We also invite you to follow us on social media for daily folklore facts that connect the threads of these dark, beautiful histories. The life of a student is often seen as a period of intense intellectual growth and pure potential, but in Diliman, that growth is often shadowed by the recognition that the world is a place of sudden, inexplicable violence, of secrets that never stay buried, and of promises that remain tragically unfulfilled. The air is thick, not only with the scent of old paper and blooming acacia, but also with the residual fear of the souls who linger, waiting for the peace that their human lives never afforded them. The intellectual life, it turns out, is simply another form of haunting. Do you ever truly leave a place that holds such concentrated darkness? Or does a piece of that shadow come with you, a subtle, constant reminder of the unseen life that thrives when the lights go out? The renowned author Flannery O'Connor once wrote, "Where the spirit is present, there is the marvelous and the terrible. Always." Thank you for tuning into this journey into the secrets beneath the surface of the Philippines' intellectual heart. Do not forget to like, subscribe, follow, and share this podcast. Support the podcast financially in ways you can find in the show notes. Good night.